You know, the most expensive thing in the world isn't a house, a car, or a diamond. The most expensive thing is a poor mindset. It will cost you opportunities, relationships, peace of mind, and yes, wealth. But here's the good news. The richest people in the world aren't the ones born with silver spoons. They're the ones who learned how to think, not just what to think. And that's where most people go wrong. You see, society hands you opinions. The news sells you fear. Your environment whispers limitations. But very few ever sit you down and say, listen, here's how to design a mind that attracts wealth, that multiplies value, that builds a life of success from the inside out. The truth is, money doesn't start in your wallet, it starts in your philosophy. Success doesn't begin with a job offer, it begins with how you frame your days, your decisions, your discipline. And wealth? Wealth is born when you stop asking, what should I think? And you start mastering the art of how to think. The rich don't just know more facts. They've trained their mind to see differently, to choose differently, to respond differently. And the most incredible part? That way of thinking, it's available to anyone. Any age, any background, any starting point. So today, I want to help you do what few ever learn. To build the kind of mindset that wealth naturally follows. Because once your mind becomes rich, the rest starts to catch up. Stay with me, your thinking is about to become your greatest investment. You know, life doesn't hand over rewards to those who merely wish for them. If it did, every person with a dream would be wealthy, every person with a goal would be successful, and every person staring out their window thinking about change would already have it. But life doesn't work that way. It responds to discipline, the quiet, often uncomfortable daily acts that few notice but that shape everything. Discipline is the bridge between intentions and accomplishments. I learned that lesson early, not because I was naturally disciplined, but because life made the consequences of undisciplined living so painfully clear. When I was younger, I had every excuse. I didn't feel like saving money. I didn't feel like reading another book. I didn't feel like making those extra calls or pushing beyond my comfort zone. And every time I gave in to those feelings, I paid the price. My wallet stayed empty, my skills remained average, and my confidence quietly eroded. You see, the ability to do what must be done regardless of how you feel separates those who build empires from those who only build wishes. I remember standing in front of the mirror one morning, completely dissatisfied with where I was broke, behind on my bills, watching opportunities slip by. And I realized that I was losing to my own emotions. Comfort, laziness, hesitation, they were running the show. That morning, I made a quiet promise to myself. Feelings would no longer decide my future. Discipline would. From that day forward, I started small. I didn't need to conquer the world overnight. I just needed to conquer the temptation to quit for one more day. One extra hour of study. One more saved dollar. One more uncomfortable action. And over time, those small daily disciplines compounded into results I never imagined. We all face those moments when the bed feels warmer than the work, when scrolling feels easier than planning, when spending feels better than saving. But understand this, feelings are fleeting. Discipline creates legacy. You don't need to feel ready to change your life. You just need to act again and again until discipline becomes your new nature. That's when everything starts to shift. You know, one of the greatest illusions people live under is the belief that financial freedom comes from making one grand decision, one big windfall, or waiting for the perfect moment when all the stars align. But real wealth, the kind that lasts, is not built in grand gestures. It's built in quiet, consistent adjustments. And one of the simplest yet most overlooked disciplines in building wealth is learning how to reduce your expenses gradually, one small choice at a time. When I started my journey toward financial independence, I didn't have a fortune to work with. In fact, most of what I had was going out faster than it was coming in. But here's the truth I discovered. You don't need to slash your lifestyle overnight to get ahead. You just need to start small. I made it a personal challenge. Every month, I would find one expense I could reduce or eliminate entirely. Just one. Nothing radical, nothing painful, but I promised myself I would do it consistently. I remember the first time I looked at my monthly spending and realized I was paying for things I didn't even value. Small subscriptions, unnecessary gadgets, coffee shop habits that, over time, quietly drained my wallet. It wasn't about deprivation. It was about awareness and control. I canceled one subscription that first month. It barely made a dent in my comfort, but it made a significant shift in my mindset. Suddenly, I wasn't just reacting to my finances, I was directing them. The next month, I looked again. This time, it was dining out. I didn't cut it entirely, but I trimmed it by 20%. And guess what? I didn't feel deprived. I felt empowered. Month after month, small adjustments, one by one, little leaks plugged. The fascinating thing is, as these small savings compounded, so did my confidence. I realized wealth isn't only about earning more, it's about learning to keep more of what you already have. Imagine doing this for a year, 12 small reductions, 12 quiet wins. By the end of the year, your spending habits look different, your savings account feels stronger, and most importantly, your mindset is rewired for growth. Small, consistent changes, that's how real wealth is built, one conscious decision at a time. I've always believed one of the greatest shifts a person can make is learning to stop chasing money and instead start chasing value. You see, people often ask, how do I earn more? But that's the wrong question. The right question is, how do I create more value for others? Because income, real income, is nothing but the echo of the value you've planted in the world. When I was young, I was just like most people focused on the paycheck. I thought success meant persuading someone to pay me more, negotiating a higher salary, chasing opportunities that sounded lucrative. But I learned the hard way. You can temporarily demand more, but long-term wealth only grows in proportion to the value you consistently deliver. I remember early in my career working for a mentor who changed my thinking forever. He told me, you don't get paid for time, you get paid for the value you bring to that time. That single idea rearranged everything for me. From that moment, I stopped asking, how many hours can I work? And started asking, how much can I improve? How can I solve bigger problems? How can I serve at a higher level? The wealthy, the ones who create lasting success, they don't measure their progress by hours clocked or tasks completed. They measure it by the problems they solve, the needs they meet, the lives they improve. You see, contribution is the foundation. If you help enough people get what they want, the marketplace rewards you not always immediately, but inevitably. Look around at the wealthiest people you admire. Their wealth isn't an accident. It's a reflection of the value they've poured into society, whether through products, services, ideas, or leadership. They understand money follows value, not the other way around. And the best part? Creating value isn't reserved for entrepreneurs or executives. It applies to every role, every profession, every relationship. You can elevate your value by refining your skills, deepening your knowledge, improving your attitude, and solving bigger, more meaningful challenges for those around you. So if you want more income, more opportunity, more wealth, don't chase the money, chase the value. Because when you focus on becoming more valuable, the income becomes inevitable. That's the law. One of the greatest lessons life taught me is that success, wealth, even peace of mind, they all tend to live right in the middle, in that space we call moderation. But moderation is a concept people often overlook in the pursuit of wealth. You see, most folks either go to extremes. They either spend recklessly, always chasing the next indulgence, or they swing the other way entirely, living so frugally they forget to enjoy the life they're building. But real mastery, lasting financial success, rests in that golden mean where you live well within your means, yet steadily grow your surplus. I remember when I was young, fresh in my career, I met people who were extreme savers. They wouldn't buy a decent meal, skipped every opportunity for growth, and pinched pennies so hard they forgot money is a tool for living, not just surviving. On the other side, I saw folks who made good money but lived with no discipline, upgrading their lifestyle faster than their income, constantly teetering on the edge of financial disaster. Both groups had something in common. Neither built real wealth. Moderation is about wisdom. It's the understanding that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor without devouring the entire tree. You can treat yourself to the good things in life, but only after you've planted seeds for your future. I learned early that living below your means isn't deprivation, it's insurance for your dreams. It creates room for opportunity, for security, for peace of mind. Moderation also applies to ambition. I've seen people burn out chasing wealth because they lacked balance. They worked endlessly, neglected their health, their relationships, their sense of purpose. And by the time they reached their financial goals, they were too exhausted to enjoy them. That's not success. That's imbalance. Building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. It requires patience, discipline, and the humility to stay grounded. Enjoy your life today, absolutely, but with the foresight to ensure your future is even brighter. Spend thoughtfully, save consistently, invest wisely, and most importantly, never lose sight of the middle path. It's where freedom grows quietly, steadily, and lastingly. That's where real wealth resides. One of the most overlooked principles in building wealth is understanding the subtle difference between what takes from you and what works for you. Most people accumulate things, cars, gadgets, clothes, even subscriptions, without realizing many of these become quiet thieves of their future. They drain resources, time, attention, but they give little or nothing back. That's what we call liabilities. But here's the beauty with the right mindset. You can turn liabilities into assets. It's a shift in thinking, and once you master it, your financial life begins to change in ways you can't imagine. I remember when I was starting out, I looked around at the things I owned, some tools I never used, an extra set of golf clubs, collecting dust, electronics still in their boxes. It hit me, those weren't serving me. They were just sitting there tying up money that could be working for me. So I made a decision. I sold what I didn't use, repurposed what I could, and took that money and redirected it towards something productive: investments, education, tools that actually helped me grow my value. You see, everything you own is either feeding your future or consuming it. And most folks don't even question that relationship. They hold on to stuff out of habit, sentiment, or plain procrastination, while their dreams sit underfunded, their investments neglected, their opportunities postponed. The wealthy think differently. They constantly evaluate. Is this thing serving me? Is it working for my future? If not, they turn it into cash or value and put that to work. It's not about being ruthless, it's about being intentional. You'd be amazed how much dormant wealth is lying around your home, your office, even your habits. It's not just possessions either. Skills you aren't using, connections you've neglected, these can be repurposed too. When you shift your thinking this way, everything becomes a potential asset. That's how wealth is built, not just by earning more, but by directing every resource, no matter how small, towards your freedom. Wealth doesn't start with money, it starts with how you think about the things you already have. Turn your liabilities into fuel for your dreams. That's how you make every dollar, every possession, every skill work for you instead of the other way around. One of the greatest revelations I ever had came when I stopped seeing time as something to fill and started seeing time as capital. You see, the wealthy, the successful, the people building real freedom, they treat time with the same seriousness. They treat money maybe even more so. Because here's the truth. You can lose money and make it back, but time spent poorly, that's gone forever, irreplaceable, non-refundable. Early in my life, I made the same mistake many people do. I thought being busy was the same as being productive. I filled my calendar with meetings, errands, and distractions, all under the illusion that I was doing something. But you and I both know, being in motion isn't the same as moving forward. One day, a mentor of mine looked me in the eye and said, "The clock is either your employee or your enemy. You decide." That stayed with me. From that moment, I started budgeting my time like I would my finances. I asked myself daily, am I investing this hour or am I spending it? Because an hour invested wisely in learning, building, connecting can yield returns for years to come. But an hour lost to mindless scrolling, meaningless tasks, or idle conversation, that's capital gone. Gone from your future. Gone from your potential. The wealthy know how to protect their time the way they protect their investments. They say no more often than they say yes. They don't jump at every request, every distraction, every shiny opportunity that comes along. Why? Because they understand every yes is a withdrawal from their time. Bank and withdrawals must serve the bigger vision. Think of it this way. You wouldn't hand your hard-earned money to just anyone. So why would you give your hours away without thought? Time is the currency you spend to build your skills, nurture your relationships, sharpen your ideas. Every focused hour compounds skills, stack, connections deepen, knowledge grows, and one day those small investments turn into massive returns. The most valuable capital you possess isn't sitting in your bank account, it's ticking away on the clock. Spend it wisely, invest it intentionally, and watch your life yield dividends far beyond what money alone can buy. One of the great lessons life taught me is that wealth doesn't start with things, it starts with thinking. Most people get that backward. They chase possessions, buy symbols of success, fill their lives with gadgets and comforts, hoping those things will somehow create the feeling of prosperity. But I'll tell you the truth. The wealthy, those who build lasting success, they spend first on knowledge, not things. In my early years, I made that mistake too. When I first started earning a little more than just enough to get by, I thought the next step was to buy more. A nicer car, new clothes, things to show the world I was moving up. But here's what I realized. A car depreciates the moment you drive it off the lot, but the right idea can appreciate every day of your life. A jacket wears out, but a skill compounds. So I made a decision. Every time I got paid, before I bought anything to impress the outside world, I paid myself in knowledge. I bought the books, I attended the seminars, I sought out the mentors, and I'll tell you, the return on that investment is immeasurable. A $20 book once gave me an idea that helped me earn thousands. A single conversation with the right mentor saved me years of mistakes. That's leverage most people overlook. You see, money spent on knowledge never disappears. It multiplies. It reshapes how you see the world, how you solve problems, how you create value. And when you know more, you earn more. The wealthy know their greatest asset isn't parked in the driveway, it's sitting between their ears. That's why I encourage you, every time you feel the itch to buy something for appearance, pause. Ask yourself, have I first invested in my mind today? Have I sharpened my skills? Have I purchased a book, signed up for the course, sought wisdom from someone further down the road? Because those investments will buy you freedom. They'll buy you options. They'll buy you a future where the things you once chased will now chase you. Knowledge before things, always. That's the real foundation of wealth. One of the greatest hidden forces that shapes your future, often without you even realizing it, is association, the people you allow into your life, the conversations you entertain, the standards you absorb. If you want to build wealth, not just money in the bank, but real wealth, you have to be intentional about building what I call a circle of wealth. In my early days, I discovered something fascinating. Your income, your thinking, your habits, even your expectations tend to mirror those you spend the most time with. You get around people who think small, talk problems, dwell on limitations, and before long your dreams shrink to fit their comfort zone. But when you surround yourself with people who think in terms of growth, solutions, opportunity, your vision stretches, your standards rise, and your results follow. I remember when I first got serious about changing my financial future. The most important thing I did wasn't opening a new savings account or finding the perfect investment, it was finding new associations. I sought out people who were further along the path, people who understood the principles of value, creation, discipline, and intelligent risk. Some of them I met in person, others through books and recorded seminars, but their thinking became the fuel that ignited mine. Here's the truth. Wealth is not just transferred through advice, it's transferred through environment. You absorb beliefs, language, and behaviors just by being in the room. That's why the wealthy often seem to operate on a different frequency. They've immersed themselves in circles where success is normal, responsibility is expected, and possibility is limitless. So ask yourself, who's in your circle? Are you surrounded by those who lift your thinking or drain your energy? Do your conversations revolve around problems or progress? Are your friends casual with money or intentional with it? Because your circle will either stretch you to grow or comfort you to stay small. Make it your mission to develop a circle of wealth, even if it starts with one new association. Seek out those who practice these principles, who live with discipline, who measure success by contribution, and who believe in building, not just consuming. You'll find their habits contagious, their vision inspiring, and over time, their results will become your results. One of the most powerful yet simple tools I've ever used to create financial awareness is keeping a spending journal. Now, I know it doesn't sound glamorous. It's not flashy like investing in stocks or launching a new business venture. But I'll tell you something, most people don't lose their wealth because of one big decision. They lose it dollar by dollar, mindlessly, thoughtlessly, day after day, and the spending journal shines a bright light on that behavior. When I first started on my path to building wealth, I had big ambitions, but I quickly realized that if I couldn't manage $100, I'd never manage 100,000. That's where the spending journal came in. I began writing down every single dollar I spent. Whether it was a coffee, a meal, a magazine, it all went in the book. At first, I thought it was unnecessary. But after a few weeks, I was shocked by the patterns I saw. You see, the human mind is a master justifying small expenses. $5 here, $10 there, it feels insignificant. But over a month, those little leaks can sink your financial ship. What the journal does is create immediate awareness. And awareness is the first step to discipline. You can't change what you refuse to see. What fascinated me most was how this small act of writing things down began to change my behavior. Suddenly, that impulsive purchase didn't seem so harmless when I knew I'd have to face it in ink. I began questioning, is this moving me toward wealth or away from it? Is this an investment in my future or a momentary indulgence with long-term consequences? Over time, that discipline compounds. Small daily savings turn into surplus, surplus turns into capital, and capital turns into freedom. And that freedom starts with something as humble as a notebook. So, don't underestimate this. Get yourself a simple journal, track every dollar for 30 days, and watch how quickly your relationship with money transforms. It's not the act of tracking that builds wealth, it's the awareness and discipline that grow from it. That's how surplus begins. And surplus is the foundation of every financial success story. One of the greatest lessons I've learned in my years studying wealth, success, and human behavior is that time reveals truth, especially when it comes to money. You see, most people lose money not because they lack intelligence, but because they lose to their impulses. The world today is designed to make you act fast. Limited time offers, one-click purchases, constant advertisements pulling at your desires. But wealth isn't built in the fast lane of emotions, it's built with patience, clarity, and deliberate action. That's why I adopted what I call the 48-hour rule for spending. It's simple but life-changing. Anytime you're about to make a significant purchase, something beyond your usual daily needs, you wait 48 hours before saying yes. No exceptions. You pause, you think, you step back from the heat of the moment, and let reason return to the room. I remember years ago, I saw a beautiful car that caught my eye. It was sleek, shiny, everything the salesman promised was designed to stir emotion. My younger self might have signed the papers right then, driven off feeling powerful, and woken up weeks later with regret and another liability draining my future. But I practiced the pause. I walked away. For 48 hours, I reflected. Is this a need or an ego-driven impulse? Will this purchase bring me closer to financial freedom or anchor me deeper into payments and depreciation? The answer was clear. Once the emotion faded, I didn't need it. I walked away, and that decision kept my capital working for me, not parked in the driveway, losing value. You see, the 48-hour rule isn't about deprivation. It's about mastery over self, over impulse, over the fleeting emotions that sabotage long-term growth. Those who win financially aren't those who never spend. They're the ones who spend deliberately. They invest in assets, skills, experiences that elevate their life. Not things that temporarily entertain, but permanently weaken their financial position. So, next time you feel that rush, the urge to buy, honor yourself with the pause. Wait 48 hours. If it still makes sense after the emotion settles, proceed with confidence. But more often than not, you'll find clarity in the waiting, and that clarity is the foundation of wealth. You know, as I stand here sharing these principles with you, I want you to understand something that has guided me my entire life. Success isn't built on extraordinary luck or magical talent. It's built on ordinary disciplines practiced consistently. Wealth is not some distant dream reserved for a lucky few. It's the natural result of small, wise decisions made daily. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. You don't have to become a millionaire by next week. But you do have to start thinking differently, and you do have to act deliberately, starting right now. Every dollar you save, every moment you invest wisely, every impulse you resist, it all compounds. The wealthy aren't lucky. They're patient architects of their own future. They measure time the way they measure money, with intention. They spend energy building value, nurturing relationships, acquiring knowledge, not chasing temporary highs or impulsive wants. But here's the truth. Most won't tell you life will test your discipline. Distractions will tempt you. Emotions will rise. But wealth belongs to those who master themselves before they try to master markets, businesses, or opportunities. You can have the greatest financial tools in the world, but if you can't govern your own impulses, those tools become toys, and toys don't build empires. The beautiful part is, this journey doesn't require perfection, it requires consistency. Start small. Save 1%, reduce one expense, delay one impulsive purchase. Invest 1 hour in learning. Build one relationship that elevates you. Then repeat. Over time, these small acts stack up into extraordinary results. So my invitation to you is simple. Don't let this be another speech you heard, nodded along to, and forgot by tomorrow. Let today be the day you draw the line. Decide that you will treat time and money with the respect they deserve. Decide you will trade wishful thinking for disciplined action. Decide you will become the kind of person wealth is drawn to, focused, intentional, valuable. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't respond to want, it responds to work. Now go do the work. Your future is waiting.